Hello everyone, welcome to another Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous video. In today's Camp Cretaceous video we are going to be reviewing, yes, Season 2, which has finally been released. If you guys haven't yet done so, I did actually post a watch party yesterday where you guys can watch along with me in the same time frame and see my reactions and compare them to how your reactions are as well. But today, this is going to be a review with spoilers. Whether it's small amount of spoilers or loads amount of spoilers, I haven't really decided yet. So do keep that in mind and make sure that you are aware that this review does contain spoilers. So if you don't want anything spoiled, then I'd probably suggest you wait until after you've seen the series to check out this review. But if you don't mind about spoilers and you just want to hear how the episodes go, then you're more than welcome to chill and watch this video. But let's get straight into it. My first question that I want to ask myself is, was this better than Season 1? And personally, I would like to say yes, in the same way that I like to say Jurassic Park 3 is better than The Lost World. Now, I can already see loads of people going to dislike this video, but please hear me out. The reason why I love Jurassic Park 3 is because they showcase these animals as animals rather than monsters, and I just love how, you get loads of dinosaurs showcased in Jurassic Park 3 as well. From the river raft scene where you see ankylosaurs, stegosaurs, parasaurs and brachiosaurs, to the Spinosaurus, yes, hunting them down, may seem like a monster, but it's the fact we get to see more dinosaurs, and Season 2 doesn't let you down about seeing new dinosaurs and more dinosaurs as well. Obviously, my favourite scene is going to have to be the watering hole, where we get to see Sinoceratops, Stegosaurus, Parasaurolophus, Ceratosaurus, Blue, and Brachiosaurus as well. So it showcases that these dinosaurs are here and they can live in harmony. They don't always want to kill each other, and it's very important that you listen to how Darius said we are experiencing new behaviors. So it seems like the Jurassic World universe want to go in another direction with all of these dinosaurs, and hopefully this leads into Jurassic World Dominion as well. Now, what I mean by that is that we have dinosaurs running all over the gaff now. We have the Pseudoceratops in North Carolina, we have Pteranodons in Las Vegas, from what we know, and so dinosaurs are all over the place, and rather than see them constantly try to hunt, constantly try to kill, we hopefully can see these dinosaurs get along somehow, and maybe, just maybe, might showcase how the end of the Dominion will go. The fact that we might actually have to live with these dinosaurs instead. Now we'll start off with episode 1, which is called A Beacon of Hope. The description for this says, still stranded on the island and still reeling from the apparent loss of Ben, the campers make a last-ditch effort to attempt to be rescued by sending out an SOS message. And what happens in this episode is basically they realise that there's probably something of an SOS message device hidden in one of these trees. And obviously, you know where it is, we've seen the clip before, but it's in the T-Rex nest. So Darius and Kenji actually has to go and get the SOS message, but things take a turn when the T-Rex realises they're in there. And as I predicted, may I just say, Brooklyn gets a cardboard cutout of herself and then also uses that to her advantage to distract the T-Rex, so they're able to send the SOS message out. So at the start of the series, you see that they are trying to get out of the island and the mess that they're currently in, and they send out the SOS message, which is really good, but it does say signal received, but you don't know who's received it. Next up, we have The Art of Chill, episode 2. Darius and Sammy face a moral dilemma while searching the park for supplies. The campers start building a new treehouse, and Brooklyn sees something odd. So, comparing to what was said in the description is when Darius and Sammy facing a moral dilemma. What this means is whether or not they should release the baryonyx into the wild. They stumble upon this veterinarian area, so it's not captured, not caged up or anything, but they stumble upon the veterinarian area, which has a few Sinoceratopses, I think a few Stegosaurs, and a baryonyx all locked up. Now what happened here is that they were supposed to be treated, but unfortunately the humans had to be evacuated from the island and they were left in their cages, the dinosaurs. So they start releasing all of the dinosaurs. I think Parasaur was in there as well, but they start releasing all of the dinosaurs, and Sammy and Darius say at the same time contrasting things, that they shouldn't let out the baryonyx, or they should, and they started arguing about this, and then eventually Darius comes to his senses to actually release the baryonyx because, they're family, and a bit of plot armor and suspense later in the series requires 3 baryonyxes. But yes, they start building a new treehouse, which is really cool. And Brooklyn also sees something odd. She's been hearing these sort of sounds recently, and we're not sure what that is, but it does reveal later in the series. Now again, Season 3, the watering hole, Brooklyn, Sammy and Yasmina team up to investigate strange noises in the park as they also later on hear the sound. Elsewhere, Darius and Kenji go exploring and witness a majestic sight. This is like not Battle of the Genders, I don't want to say that, but it is Battle of the Genders. You can see how the boys would react in a situation to this versus how girls would usually react in a situation of this. And it's quite cool to see the contrast, you know, when they do arrive, when Brooklyn is trying to fit in with the girls because Yaz and Sammy get on really well now. Brooklyn's trying to fit in, trying to do a few jokes, and they finally click on a TV show they watched or something like that. And, you know, they come back and Kenji and Darius are just chilling, and then they say how they clicked on a new TV show, and they start doing all these girly things, and Kenji and Darius were like, cool, okay. So it's a cool contrast between the guys and the girls in this episode. I really do enjoy it. But it's nice to see some character evolution here. You know, Brooklyn was somebody who relies on her followers, she relies on her camera and everything like that, which also she got rid of in episode 1 because she used it to save her friends. So it's nice to see that these characters are evolving, and Brooklyn again relied on all of her followers to, you know, keep her happy and all of this, when in reality she's not really clicking with many people and she's trying to fit in, bless her. But happily and thankfully she does fit in eventually with Sammy and Yasmina, and she doesn't have to laugh at random jokes she doesn't really understand. And it's nice to see that she is finally growing into her boots a little bit more. I feel like in season 2 maybe Brooklyn might be more of a main character than Darius, merely because of her evolution change and how smart she actually was from season 1, and she continues her intelligence into season 2. Now, episode 4 is where the season changes. Salvation. A bonfire in the distance signals that campers have company. A pair of posh eco-tourists and their disgruntled security guy. But can they be trusted? Now, episode 4 also showcases, spoiler alert again, Ben. And towards the end, my reaction was absolutely incredible when I saw Ben and Bumpy come back. I was not expecting Bumpy to be that big. But yes, they do return at the end of the series because the security guy, Hap, actually seemed very fishy, very, you know, weird. And I wasn't a big fan of him when we first interacted with him. And when we saw that, I was just like, come on, is this character really suited for this series? But it actually turns out that they were taking us into a different direction. There was at one point in the episode where Darius said, oh, but you got us the distress beacon. And then Tiff, one of the eco-tourists, quote unquote, actually said, oh yes, we did, didn't we, honey, to her boyfriend. Now, that being said, you know, you could see it was a bit fishy. It was definitely her lying. They'd never received any sort of beacon or distress beacon. They were there to actually poach dinosaurs, which we'll get into later down the line. But they didn't want the kids to find out, so they had to say something along that line. Now, this is a good enough episode because it's starting to interact with us, and it shows us how staying on an island for so long can actually bring the worst out of people through their imagination and ideas. Now, what I mean by that is the fact that Darius got very easily manipulated by the older guy, which I believe his name was actually Mitch. He got very easily manipulated from that. Kenji just wasn't a big fan of him because, you know, they're all wealthy as well, and he likes to be the only wealthy one. And Brooklyn, again, using her intelligence to the matter here, was very switched on and saying something wasn't right here, and realised that from how Hap was reacting. He was very mean, very abrupt, and very aggressive. And then Kenji later along the line clicks with Brooklyn and realises the same thing. So it seems like those two are the ones with the brains here. Darius obviously with the brains of dinosaurs. But obviously, as I said, Hap was keeping an eye on Brooklyn and Kenji because they kept going to investigate, which again, their intrigueness can't be kept out from their personality. And then they run away. Hap tries to chase him down and Ben hits him over the head with Bumpy. Which leads us into episode 5 called Brave. The campers reunite with a long lost friend who shares an inspiring story, then reveals that Mitch, Tiff and Hap aren't who they seem. Now, I thought this was going to be more of, let's say, a better episode, but it does seem like a filler episode. You know, it's a whole episode dedicated to Ben's backstory. I know loads of people are going to be like, what, this is so cool, I want to see this. But, you know, personally, when you leave episode 4 on a really high cliffhanger with Ben and Bumpy arriving, I don't think it's best to just jump into the backstory for a whole episode. It did take me by surprise. I thought they'd only do half an episode of his backstory, and then they continue into what should have been, what is episode 6 and should have been the end of episode 5. But it does get a bit repetitive, because obviously we see how Ben survived after his fall, how his relationship with Bumpy grew, got torn away and then grew again, and we also see Ben's evolution as well, how he changed into the person he is now. He's become more fighting, more upbeat, and more willing to take on anything, especially Toro, which, by the way, since Toro did get scratched in that episode, on the other side of his face, this actually brings into fact that maybe at the end of Fallen Kingdom, it really is Toro. The only thing that threw people off was the fact that the scar is on the opposite side of the face. But now Toro has 2 scars on each face, and some people may say he died, but we have no evidence to support that he died. He did suffer a really bad fall, bless him. He's been burnt and he's fallen from a high cliff, but he did seem like he's alive okay. Not okay, but he's alive okay. So whether or not Toro is there's another story. I don't think he is, but we'll get onto that in another video. But yeah, so it's basically a whole episode with Ben, and it did get a bit repetitive, which I didn't really enjoy, and then Ben in episode 6 became a bit too cocky for my boots, and I didn't really enjoy it all that much, seeing him the way he is. He's willing to take on everything. He's very skeptical and abrupt, and just like Hap, really, and I wasn't a big fan of it. But again, episode 6 is called Misguided. Darius must make a difficult choice to save Sammy and Yasmina. Meanwhile, the remaining campers are trying to decide if Hap is a friend or foe. Which means by the remaining campers is Brooklyn and Kenji and Ben are chilling with Hap, and Ben rides Bumpy like it's Ark now, and he does seem like he's coming from straight out of Ark. But this is where they start speaking to Hap a bit more, and Hap has realised that maybe we need to keep these people at bay. We need to tell these kids exactly what's going on, and Hap has a change of personality again, only within 3 episodes, but he has a change in personality, which is really, really good. Now, not only that, but Hap does unfortunately die in this episode, which I thought was good in a way as a heroic send-off, but at the same time I just wasn't a fan of it, because I started to grow to Hap as well, and just as I started to like him, it just it fell apart, and I was heartbroken. I can't even lie to you guys. But he actually, they're getting chased on the motorbike by the 3 baryonyxes, and for Hap to save the children, he discards, I think that's the word I'm looking for, his cart from the motorcycle, and gets out of it and tries to fend off the 3 baryonyxes whilst Brooklyn and Kenji drive away, and he does die. The baryonyxes do eat Hap. But, this is the same episode, I think, where Darius makes a discovery to realise that actually these aren't ecotourists, these are poachers. He sees the knives and he sees a headless, I believe, Sinoceratops, but it could have been a Styracosaurus because the nose horn are the same length. But he does actually see a headless one of those and realises these guys are poachers. But Mitch walks in on him seeing all of this, and then they realise everything. And they take Sammy, Brooklyn, Sammy, Yaz, and Darius all in the line to actually get more dinosaurs to poach and everything like that. So it's not really all that great, and things take a turn. So this is where the excitingness happens. Coming into episode 7, step 1, Brooklyn, Ben, Kenji, and Yasmina work to uncover a secret and restore power to the park as Darius leads Mitch, Tiff straight into a T-Rex trap. Basically, Brooklyn, Ben, and Kenji and Yasmina actually gets away in episode 6 and reunites with the friends, and they find this underground bunker where this sound was coming from, and the sound actually was coming from E750, I think that's the door, which we never got more information about, which I'll make another video about that as well. But they find this underground bunker, which pretty much has generating power, backup generators, and Kenji turns on the power, and they can see everything going on, really, and they can see that Darius and Sammy are fending off the 2 poachers and a T-Rex. They actually lure them into the T-Rex, almost get eaten, Mitch and Tiff, by the T-Rex as well. I really wish they did. That would have been amazing send-off. But not at the same time, Darius and Sammy almost get eaten by the T-Rex. This is a big emotional ride in episode 7. You don't know what's going to happen. It's very tense, and I really loved the aspect of it. It was just like, whoa, what's going to happen? Did they die? I was on the edge of my seat, as you can see in the live stream I did, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I knew one of them was probably going to die, but I didn't know who was going to die. But yes, after the kids come to the rescue, obviously, you know that's going to happen, they then use the hologram, similar to what was in Jurassic World, to fend off the Rex, and the Rex gets distracted by the hologram, and Darius and Sammy are able to run away. Which, again, episode 7, probably one of my favourite episodes, merely because of how intense it really was. You don't know what was going to happen, when it was going to end, who was going to die, and I was just like, what? I had so many questions during it, and then they didn't really get answered until episode 8, called Chaos Theory. Very unique to what Ian Malcolm has. A guilty Darius is determined to protect the island's innocent dinosaurs, even if he has to do it all alone. But with luck, maybe he won't have to. So this episode, it's a matter of sacrifice and of friendship and trust relationship. Now, loads of people said, oh, it'll be a romantic relationship, but I honestly kept my gut feeling that they will not introduce any romantic relationships, and they'd only go with friendship or brotherly sisterly love. And at the end of this episode, it does show that, as Brooklyn and Darius do agree that this is friendship that they all have together, and it's a really good episode. This is again one of my favourite episodes of this series. So from when Darius makes his sacrifice, realising that he has to protect his friends to get to the boat and lure the hunters away into a trap where all the dinosaurs are, he then tries to fend off himself, but Brooklyn arrives at the same time in a gyrosphere to protect him, and then the other campers arrive to move the dinosaurs away. Now, moving the dinosaurs away was a very good idea, you know, it kept them from being killed by the poachers, but at the same time, the Tyrannosaurus Rex was ready to attack, and it did. Almost got the campus as well, and almost got Bumpy. But obviously, because of plot armor, it wasn't going to happen. Episode 8 showed Mitch and Tiff both dying, and unfortunately Grim, the Baryonyx, being shot. Oh, I had a few amount of tears in my eyes. Tears or water up, I don't know what you would call it. But I was very upset when Grim died. I really was. I wasn't expecting anything of that sort, and unfortunately it did happen. And I was a bit upset, but I was glad that Mitch actually died by the T-Rex, and then Tiff died by the Baryonyxes, so they avenged Grim, so that's really good. Thank you, Limbo and Chaos. But yes, so that was the whole series. Now, the main thing I want to talk about is how dark it actually was. It was a lot darker than season 1, especially in the first episode. We literally see the T-Rex kill this Parasaurolophus and drag the body along, and that was in the first scene of episode 1 of season 2, so you just know something was going to happen in the rest of the series, which was really good. It kept you on the edge of your seat. Then, you know, episode 2 had a more friendly type of feel, and you could see the character development going on, especially from season 1, and you could see how they're taking their roles very seriously now. Moving on to episode 3, it was more of a family basis, the watering hole, seeing loads of dinosaurs, and looking at the pure beautiness, or beauty, shall I say, of the park and nature. And Kenji here does have a little cry to himself as well, which you can see his character evolving as well and developing in a better person. Episode 4 is where the series changes. You see new people. You're like, oh, do we trust these people? Do we not trust these people? Ask you some questions. Then we also see that we can't trust them towards the end of the episode, and a big plot twist of Ben. Then we get to see episode 5, which is probably my least favourite just because it's a whole episode dedicated to Ben. Now, I'm not against that. It's just, you know, I'd rather a whole episode dedicated to Ben in current times rather than going back in time, because it does feel like a filler episode. But it's nice to see Toro back, and it's nice to see Ben back as well. Now, episode 6 is where you get to see that Brooklyn is like, I've had enough, I need to take control here. And she does so. She does take control here. And she kind of becomes, let's say, quote-unquote, the alpha of the pack. And she does lead Kenji and Yaz and Sammy, everyone, into a better way of getting out of this situation. Episode 7 is where Darius tries to make sacrifices, and Sammy tries to save Darius and make sacrifices as well, and all taking on the T-Rex, keeps you on the edge of your seat. And then episode 8 keeps you on the edge of the seat right until the end, and then you're like, wow, that cliffhanger. Yes, the cliffhanger. Now, season 3 is going to happen. We found evidence before season 2 came out that season 3 was going to happen, because they had a volume 2, and then they had a volume 3 of a Camp Cretaceous something script, I think, that was posted online, and I'll make a video about that later. But they made a volume 3, which means that there's probably going to be a season 3. They haven't made a season 4, a volume 4, so keep that in mind. So season 3 is probably going to be about them actually getting off the island, people actually arrive. Whether or not it will take place during Fallen Kingdom is my question, and I can't wait to see it all unveil soon. But that's where I end off my review. I will solidly give this series an 8.5 out of 10, and season 1 about a 7 out of 10. Season 2 was definitely a lot darker, a lot on your seat edge, or edge of your seat, content happening, and I was enjoying it all the way through. So that's why I really enjoyed season 2, and I can't wait for season 3. But in the meantime, like, comment and subscribe if you are new around here, and let me know your thoughts of season 2 down in the comment section down below. Again, spoilers are allowed. You are allowed to post spoilers because this is a spoiler full review, so you're more than welcome to. But do subscribe if you are new around here, would be much appreciated. But in the meantime, like, comment and subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.